my colleague, Amy, said, you know what, Barb, let's just have our classes pick something to study. So my class picked tigers, and we read all these books about tigers. Oh my gosh, who doesn't love to learn about tigers? Just about as much as dinosaurs, right? So fun to see that. Well, Amy's class picked spiders. It was just the most amazing learning ever. They could write about them. They could study them. They could get magnifying glasses. I always get back to those magnifying glasses. They loved it. So Amy had to call a parent one day about something or another, and the parent said, oh, I have got to tell you, that little Evan is just so excited about spiders. He can't wait to come home every day and tell us what he's learned, and he can't wait to go back to school in the morning to find out what new things he's going to learn about spiders. And Amy said, Barb, oh my gosh, this is magic. This is magic. No parent is telling me that their child is this excited about writing workshop or reading workshop or phonics. Yes, we need to teach those things, and we do. But what I want to see is that we have time for these kinds of things that are true learning. You can get measurement in there, and estimation and writing and science. All those different skills are in there in the most inviting, wonderful way.
I'm Nikki Herda, and this is Bright, Stories of Hope and Innovation in Michigan Classrooms, a podcast where we celebrate our state's educators and explore the future of learning. Kindergarten is such a special time in most children's education, a time when the world is still rife with discovery, when dinosaurs are unbelievably cool, and a magnifying glass can bring out new dimensions in the seemingly ordinary. In today's episode, I chat with Barb Ozminkowski, a kindergarten teacher from Walled Lake who is an early adopter of technology in her classroom and has been blogging with her young students for years. Barb shares her journey in bringing educational technology into her classroom, how and why she decided to introduce blogging to her kindergartners, and the moment she realized how much technology is too much technology. Thank you so much, Barb, for joining us for this episode of Bright. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
To kick us off, I was wondering if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, about your school, and about your students.
I'm a Minnesota girl, raised in Minnesota, about 20 miles south of St. Paul, and went to school way up in Duluth, Minnesota. Very cold and snowy. When I finished my education degree and came back down to the Twin Cities, there were so many teachers laid off at that time, and there were also Minneapolis was on strike. So there were no jobs. I couldn't even substitute. And that compared to today, right now, we just can't get substitutes. And it's just so ironic. But that was a long time ago. Anyway, I started working in an office and met a technician working there fixing RCA TVs and VCRs. And he was from Wisconsin. Got to know him and his wife, Tom and Chris. And they said, we think you'd get along with our friend Ozzy from Milwaukee. So they kept talking about this Ozzy, and he finally came up, and we had a blind date, and 6 weeks later, we were engaged. So, and actually Monday will be our 35th wedding anniversary, so that's kind of cool.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So, moved to Milwaukee, got married, and when I moved there, I realized I needed a couple more classes in order to teach there. So in the meantime, while I was taking those classes, I worked in a preschool, so 3- and 4-year-olds. Really loved that. But I knew I wanted to get into teaching, and I had student taught. Some of my student teaching had been in kindergarten, and we had studied dinosaurs, so I was hooked. Anyway, I had our first son. We have 2 boys, had the first one, and then I was able to start substituting and then got hired as a kindergarten teacher. Taught in Wisconsin about 6 years, and then for my husband's work, we moved out here to Michigan. We've been here about 25 years now. I've spent most of my 25 years here in Walled Lake teaching kindergarten and a little bit of time in first grade. I've taught half-day kindergarten, all-day, alternate-day kindergarten, and now we're at full-time kindergarten. Exhausting at the beginning of the year, but we build our stamina, both the teachers and the kids, pretty quickly. And a wide variety of abilities coming in with these kids. Some of them are, have been in preschool or actually daycare most of their life. And really, they know how to go to school. They know the whole, sitting down and listening to a story, and there's work time, and, they're students already when they come into kindergarten. And they are ready to go. Some are reading and writing already or just ready to. And then you've got, on the other end of the spectrum, you have those that can't write their name, haven't held scissors, don't know letters and numbers and counting, and then you have everything in between. So it's a big variety, which actually I love, and it works well, and I just love watching all of them grow from where they're starting.
That's very cool. Thank you for sharing your journey.
You're welcome.
Well, I'm told that you are a very innovative kindergarten teacher and that you've been using tech with your young students for quite some time. So I was wondering if you could just tell us about how you use technology in your classroom to further student learning.
Well, I was all gung-ho. I remember when computers first came out and we had the dial-up internet, and oh my gosh, we couldn't figure out what this whole downloading thing was versus uploading. And it's just so funny to think of. But the whole AOL was the first big thing with You've Got Mail, and it's so funny to think back on all that. So I loved the technology thing, and as we went along and we got computers in our classrooms for the teachers' use, it was just fun to see all of the new resources that you could find online. I found a teacher forum called Pro Teacher, and one of those first kind of forums where you could post questions and answer in that thread, and there were a bunch of different rooms for like kindergarten teachers or special ed teachers, or there was even a teacher's lounge where you could complain, I guess. I haven't looked at that in years because, of course, now we have Pinterest and all these Facebook groups with kindergarten. I follow a lot of kindergarten ones. Around that time, they they took one of our teachers and turned her into a technology coach. And she was trying to drum up, interest in her teachers. So she sent out an email asking teachers to join this after-school technology group. And we could share resources and things that were going on out there. And I remember going to that with a handful of people, and actually am pretty close friends with some of those people still, based on meeting there. Anyway, I remember her talking about podcasts, and it was not this kind of podcast. It was children recording maybe a story they've written or response to something that the teacher read, whatever, some learning that they've done. Also voice thread, where you would take a video or an image or a picture and you could put it into a slideshow, and then there were a couple different ways that you could comment. You could do an audio comment, or you could type in a comment, and different people could do a collaboration piece. So that's what we're starting to hear about, is this whole collaboration that you can do with technology. And then she mentioned blogging too, and I thought, blogging, wow, for kids? At the time, I was teaching first grade, and she told me about Class Blogmeister. Well, this great guy named David Warlick put together a blogging platform for teachers and classrooms. Free, completely free, and it was really user-friendly. I loved it. So the cool thing is the teacher sets up the blog. I can make blog posts, but then connected to that, each child has their very own blog. And what's really nice is every time a child blogs, I would get an email to approve it. But anyway, I got these first graders to blog the first year. I was so excited. It was so cool. And then, of course, it's a great opportunity to talk about your online presence and safety, and don't put your phone number out there. We're not going to put our last names in there. All of those important things. It was just so cool. So I started that in first grade, and I think we did it a couple years, and then I went to kindergarten, and I thought, I bet I can get kindergartners to do this too. And sure enough, a fun way, a really cool thing was trying to, since it was usually me taking the kids to the computer lab, me and 20 some kids, you're not an octopus. It's hard to help all these kids at once. I can't do it, Mrs. O. I thought, I'm going to type up directions and send them home and tell the parents, this is what we're doing. And maybe you can help them at home one-on-one and show them how to do it. So imagine me sitting at home at night, and I look at my email, and there's an email, Bobby posted a blog post for you to approve. It's like, yes, I've got bloggers. So I got a couple kids hooked that way, and they knew how to do it. So I did have a couple extra helpers then too. And we eventually got everybody blogging. It was so cool. Now, I was telling you about the different abilities that these kids come in. And as a teacher, differentiation, meeting children where they are and moving everybody along, whether they're beginning with skills or, developing their skills, or they've got really good skills. You always want to have them move along, learn new things. So this was a great way for them to, it was very differentiated in itself. Those that were reading and writing could type sentences. I mean, they're hunting and pecking. It's tricky. It took a long time. But you've got some of those kids writing, I love mom. And it's a great way to teach spaces in between words. When they're writing with a pencil or a pen, they forget those spaces. But see that big old space bar? That really helped teach kids spaces between their words. And if I'd have a chance, and if we still had some time, we'd be there about 45 minutes in the computer lab. I'd say, why do you love your mom? Oh, because she buys me toys. Oh, add that to your story. Add that to your story. And then some other kids I can't blog. I don't know. I said, well, you know how to write cat, right? Yeah, C-A-T. I said, okay, find it. Type in C-A-T and then do a space bar. And love, you know how to write love, right? Oh yeah, L-O-V-E. And they type that in. And pizza. Oh yeah, P-I-Z-Z-A. So some of them were just doing words. And then some of my beginning kids are just hunting and pecking the alphabet. And they all felt successful, which was really cool.
I think you were already kind of hinting at this, but I guess just how would you describe what this technology really does for students, and what it allows them to do differently than they were able to do, before when they weren't using it?
I love this about it. When we would do writing time, they want us to be doing writer's workshop every day in like first grade and on, maybe not every day, but almost every day in kindergarten, and that's getting pencil to the paper. And that can be really daunting for some kids. It's like, I can't, some of them don't have the fine motor skills in their hands. It's physically hard for some of them. Although many are very happy to be drawing the pictures. But to offer this, usually once a week we would go to the computer lab because we had to share it with all the other classrooms. But to offer our writing time on the computer was just a really fun, novel thing to do. And what it really does is open up the audience for these kids. The writing that we do in the classroom, we try to publish some of those pieces and share them with the other kindergarten class or maybe our third grade buddies. But that's a long process before you are really getting a true audience for your little writers. And that's the motivating piece. But with this, I would tell the parents, oh, your kid's blog today. Log in and you can read it and you can make a comment. And then I don't know if we ever really got to this with my kindergartners because it's a little tricky. But with older kids blogging, it's easy for them to go on their friends' blog posts and comment on them and ask questions. So that was motivating.
Are you still blogging today with your students?
Well, the class blogmeister that I mentioned is no longer there. David decided to retire and archive the whole thing. So, and I told you that one was free. There is Kid Blog and there's another one out there. I can't think of what it is, but I decided to bite the bullet and pay for Kid Blog the last couple years. This school year I did not because being back and forth and but yeah, I plan to get it going again next year.
Are there any other cool tech tools that you use in your class that you would like to share?
Well, I guess one thing I do want to share is that I was all in on this whole technology thing, and I would attend the McCall conference for many years and learned so many things. Well, imagine my delight when I heard about some Ludington kindergarten teachers that had a one-to-one iPad program. So I had to go to that, and I had to listen to all that, and I thought, oh, yeah, that's what I want. I'm going to write a grant for that. And there was just something, though, that, there wasn't a grant right at the time to apply for. And as I thought about it, and I look at what I do day to day in the classroom and the technology that I already had going, I thought, you know what? This is enough. We've got a smart board, and I have had one for many, many years now, and that's interactive. It's a novel, fun thing. We've got a great math program that has an online component that they go up there and they play the games. They're rolling dice by touching the dice and moving markers and playing these games to practice the skills we're learning. But I thought, an iPad for these kids all day, every day, no, they don't need that. They need magnifying glasses and rocks to look at and real worms and Play-Doh and whiteboard markers or whiteboards and the markers. Oh my gosh, we do so much with those. And I can't imagine having the kids come up and sit by the smart board, while I'm modeling things and they're writing on their whiteboard. Instead, they would be using their finger, I guess, on a drawing app on the iPad. I guess that would work too. But I thought, no, I need to draw the line there. And I think that's when I kind of stepped back and said, I'm pretty happy with what I have. I did write a grant, though, with our foundation. Again, this is where I got the smart board. I wrote, I think, 2 subsequent grants. One was for just 6 iPad minis, and I just looked that up. That was like 7 years ago, but these babies are still, knock on wood, doing well. And also 7 iPod Nanos. The iPads, I found this fabulous program, and back to differentiation again. There's Teach Me Preschool, Teach Me Kindergarten, and Teach Me First Grade. There's probably a second grade one too. You download them onto the iPads, and then you don't need internet, which is awesome. The kids don't have to mess with that. And I have 6 iPads, so when we rotate through centers a couple times a week, the kids will come and spend 15 minutes on an iPad. Great, that's enough. And then depending on their skills, if they are really doing beginning skills, I might have them make an account in the Teach Me Preschool. If they're really advanced, they might be doing one in the first grade. And it's fantastic. They're tracing, this is how you make it the number 2. You have to start up here and there's counting, addition, and subtraction, all the different skills that we have. So it's engaging, it's novel because we're not doing it all day, every day. It's been fantastic.
I think you make a good point, and that's a good reminder, it's very easy to get all, oh, technology. Oh, I could do this. I could do this. I could do this. And it's kind of cool to hear from a teacher about like when you realize, no, this is enough. Because, it has become an increasingly large part of our lives. So I can understand, especially at that young age, like you said, they need the magnifying glass, they need the playtime. And, because, kids are on, just like adults are on their devices a lot too when they get home. So you mentioned centers, and you said that you had like the 6 iPads. Is that kind of like station rotation or something like that?
Yes. Yeah.
Would you want to talk more about how you use that? And I'm also curious about differentiation. I don't know if they go hand in hand.
Definitely with the iPads, because when they go to that station, they go to their iPad and they find their program, whether it's the blue one for Teach Me Kindergarten or the red one for preschool. And then it's their account. They look for their name and it tracks what they're doing, and it gets harder and harder, or a little more challenging. And what it does, those particular programs, I think, are just ideal for what I want them to be doing. They're practicing the skills that we've already worked on in the classroom. Some of the other things they're doing, I want kids to be up and moving around. So a fun center station that we do is Write the Room. I will tape little cards around the room, and then they'll have a recording sheet and on a clipboard, and they think they're so cool, and they'll stick their pencil behind their ear and walk around. And it might be finding words that have to do with springtime, or it might be addition problems, and they have to figure out the addition problem and then write the answer down on their clipboard. We might have Play-Doh going on, making some words, or just, even Legos, those things that are going to build those little muscles in their fingers, which is so important in kindergarten. The iPads. Now, if you want to talk about changing technology, things that have changed over years, this is a great story. So, books on tape didn't start out as books on tape. They were records. Vinyl records. And when I started in Michigan 25 years ago, I had in my classroom a phonograph and little 45 records. And I think they were probably Disney kind of stories. And the kids would put the 45 record on the little turntable and listen to the book. And imagine those scratched up records. Well, I moved from that school. And it's funny, that teacher that took over that particular classroom has asked me many times over the years, do you want it back, Barb? Do you want it back? It's still in my closet. I'm thinking one of us could make a killing on eBay with that old technology. But I have always said no. But from going from 45 records, the next step was cassette tapes. So with Scholastic bonus points, I was able to buy a bunch of books on tape that time, cassette tapes. And then it changed to CDs. So then I bought them all over again, but used the bonus points, so that helped a lot. Wasn't cash out of my pocket. And got all these CDs on tape, or books on CDs, and the books to go along with it. So then I thought, I don't have to have a CD player. I can get these iPod Nanos, upload all of the books onto iTunes, and then put those onto the iPad or the iPods. So one of the other stations that the kids rotate through are these books on tape, that are on the iPad Nanos. And so they can find the book, because the book jacket, icon is on there. They can tell what book it is, and then they find the book in the pile, and then they can listen along to it. So that's something that's really changed over the years, and kind of a funny journey.
I'm Nikki Herda, and you're listening to Bright, a podcast that is made possible by Michigan Virtual, a nonprofit organization that's leading and collaborating to build learning environments for tomorrow. Today, I'm chatting with Barb Ozminkowski, a kindergarten teacher in Walled Lake who has been innovating learning for her young students for many years. Up next, we chat about the unique challenges that kindergarten teachers have faced during the COVID-19 pandemic and how she worked through these challenges with her young students and their families. All right, so since you were already talking about this year obviously was pretty challenging for, many teachers and students. But I've heard, in particular, teachers of young students in kindergarten and pre-K and first grade had their own particular challenges with it because the students are so young, especially with 100% virtual learning. So I was just wondering if you, wanted to reflect a little on that, on, what some of these challenges were and why it was so much harder with these young kids. And from your perspective, in a non-emergency situation, what some of the best ways are to incorporate virtual learning into the curriculum with little ones.
Well, imagine starting kindergarten online, virtually. It was quite crazy. It was hard. And my colleagues and I have decades of experience. And then we reached out to our friend colleagues at other buildings that taught kindergarten and, added more decades of experience. And we were in tears that first week. It was so hard. And I think the hardest thing was seeing the families, the adults that were helping these children be so frustrated. I was kind of the tech go-to person at our building to help families with logging on and audio issues. You and I had audio issues at the beginning of this. So imagine grandparents trying to help a kindergartner, brand new kindergartner, try to figure out audio problems. So really it was getting parents to help. And at the beginning, they knew that they needed to, but then they're like, we can't be by their side all day long and help them. So we were very careful about making a clickable schedule in Google Docs. And they would know, okay, at 9 o'clock, click on this link to get to Mrs. O's Zoom. At 10 o'clock every day, we're going to have a 40-minute snack and recess break. At 11:15 on Monday, click on this link to go to the music Zoom. But it was just getting the adults to understand and bookmark our schedule and know that there was kind of a consistent schedule for them to follow. That was the important thing. And then the other thing we found was that we need to get stuff in these kids' hands. We bought little things of Play-Doh. We put together, I don't do many worksheets, but with this, the other teacher says, you know what? I think we need to have paper pencil things for these kids to work on. So we made number writing packets and counting packets and alphabet, handwriting packets and things like that. And then we put together construction paper pieces and clipped them together and say, we're going to be making up our project one day. And we'd throw a glue stick. We put all these things in a Ziploc bag and put them out on the blue bench. And the parents, they lived right in the neighborhood. So, you got a couple of days, swing by and pick up Johnny's Ziploc bag of materials, but don't let them spread it all over the house. Just keep it right by the computer, and we'll tell them, I would hold something up. Okay, get out this tens frames. Can you find this in your bag? We're going to need this after snack today. And we found that's what really worked for parents because there was something concrete for the kids to work on, and that worked for the kids too, having something concrete to work on. But that was a lot of work. That was, we did the materials pickup brigade a couple of times, and we were glad to see that go by the wayside in mid-November. You're welcome. Just to make it work. Yeah. Well, the nice thing was we realized we couldn't keep kindergartners on from 9 to 4. We were usually done by about 2 o'clock with kindergarten. We had looked at our return to learn plan for the district, and they had copied some screen time information from, I can't remember where, but that was in the Return to Learn. And it said 5 and 6-year-olds, like 90 minutes a day. 90 minutes. So those first couple weeks we're trying to do, have them on all day long, and we're supposed to do a beginning meeting and an end of the day meeting and wrap it up. And no. So when we saw that, and we really pared down our Zoom meetings to 2 in the morning and 1 after lunch. And then that was more than 90 minutes there. That was closer to 2 hours, two and a half maybe. And then most days they had like a half hour of music and PE or an hour of art. Those were additional Zoom classes. Once we pared it down, that really helped. And then in the afternoon, we would schedule one-on-one Zooms with kids to assess them. And then we also put together work boards and choice boards. The work board, we would have like one must do. On Mondays, you're going to be doing this. We practiced making the capital A and lowercase a. For the work board Monday afternoon, we want you to get out your little packet and actually do them on the paper. So we had must do, like one must do a day for the afternoon. And then there was a choice board too of different things. Like we would find a scavenger hunt online and for the fall, go out and find all these different things that you might find in the fall, and print it off if you want to, if you have the capability to print things off. Otherwise, don't worry about it. Take a look at the list and go outside and look for these things. And then another fun thing that the teachers did, because we really collaborated together, the 3 teachers, we would make videos with Zoom of ourselves reading a story and the book underneath the document camera. And we posted those on a growing Google Slides. So the kids, it might be a story that we had already read to the kids. And then, they always want to hear these stories over and over again. So, or, we read 2 Pete the Cats and they want more Pete the Cats because there's so many of them. Oh, yeah, we'll add some more onto the growing stories. So we had our own stories online for them to access, of us teachers reading to them. So that worked. And that made parents very happy that they knew that these were the exact times they had to have them on, and everybody became a lot happier.
So what is your vision for student learning? And the way I break that down is just, if it were up to you, what would you just really want to see for every single one of your kindergarten students?
I want to be sure that kids are getting those magnifying glasses in their hands, and they're getting experiences that really, really draw them in. So we do readers workshop and writers workshop and math and phonics. And it can be way above some of the kids' heads. We find ways to differentiate. We've talked about that already today, to make sure that we're meeting them at their needs and moving them along. My colleague, Amy, said, you know what, Barb, let's just have our classes pick something to study. So my class picked tigers, and we read all these books about tigers. Oh my gosh, who doesn't love to learn about tigers? Just about as much as dinosaurs, right? But we wanted a real animal that's alive today. And we found live cams at San Diego Zoo, and sometimes there we'd see nothing except trees, and then we'd see these big old tigers sleeping, and oh look, he's moving, oh he twitched his tail. So fun to see that. Well, Amy's class picked spiders. So with the fact that spiders are in your house and they're on the playground and they're in the classroom, these kids were finding them everywhere. It was just the most amazing learning ever. They could write about them. They could study them. They could get magnifying glasses. I always get back to those magnifying glasses. They loved it. So Amy had to call a parent one day about something or another, and the parent said, oh, I have got to tell you, that little Evan is just so excited about spiders. He can't wait to come home every day and tell us what he's learned. And he can't wait to go back to school in the morning to find out what new things he's going to learn about spiders. And Amy said, Barb, oh my gosh, this is magic. This is magic. No parent is telling me that their child is this excited about writing workshop or reading workshop or phonics. Yes, we need to teach those things, and we do. But what I want to see is that we have time for these kinds of things that are true learning. You can get measurement in there and estimation and writing and science. All those different skills are in there in the most inviting, wonderful way. And the way that technology fits into that is it just opens our world more. You know, you can find those videos online or Skype or Zoom with an expert. Or find a virtual field trip about those kinds of things. And I think we might be doing more of that next year.
All right, last question. What words of advice or encouragement would you offer to your fellow educators right now?
Step back from everything school related if you can right now. Just breathe. Congratulate yourself. Say, yes, I did it. And if you didn't retire or quit, you're going to come back and do it again. And oh my gosh, the stories we're going to have to tell about this. Funny thing we did, we do time capsules for these kids that we tell them to open up when they're a senior in high school. And it was so fun this year. We added a mask in there. We found a printout from online that talked about all these different things that like Oprah did, and all the toilet paper shortages, all these fun facts that we printed off. And then I wrote a letter to the kids and said, remember when we did this, remember that, and you guys will always be known as the COVID kindergarten. So that's kind of cool. The stories we will have to tell. Crazy. I told you I had to pack up my entire classroom, every block and paperclip and book and everything, because they loaded them all up into big storage vehicles on our property, and they're completely gutting our building and redoing it. So I don't want to think right now about unpacking all those boxes and moving back in. It's going to be really cool and new, but I just can't. I have to walk away from that right now. So we finished on Friday, June 11th, in the afternoon, and I went home and we packed our bags and jumped in the car, and my husband and I drove out to Colorado. We have a son and daughter-in-law out there that we haven't seen since their wedding in September 2019. So we couldn't wait to get out there. And to drive away that same day was just so good. You know, a couple hours away, 21 hours away, into the mountains. We're just, there's Mount Sopris. They live near Mount Sopris. It was just what I needed to do some hiking and completely unplugging from the whole school thing. I see people on Facebook talking already about room decoration. In the early elementary, it's all about the theme and how you're going to decorate your room and what's at the dollar spot at Target for teachers. And I'm like, no, not yet. Too soon. Yep. The back to school sales already. It's like, unplug. Yeah. Unplug. Congratulate yourself. Find something different if you can. I know some can't. They're into summer school and whatnot, but give yourself grace. I saw some teachers say online, I'm a brand new kindergarten teacher and I had to teach online all year. Can you imagine that? Oh my gosh. And they said, I can't get my kids to write. Oh my gosh, I feel like such a failure. No. If anything was hard online, it was teaching writing, getting kids to write. Yes, we'll have some work to do when the kids come back to school in the fall on writing, but that's okay. They'll be okay. Give yourself grace and We've heard that a lot, but it's true.
Like a magnifying glass, technology is a tool that can foster wonder in the minds of young students. Whether they're watching videos of tigers, proudly sharing their first blog post with their parents, or using an iPad to practice their letters, technology allows teachers to expand the walls of the classroom to make the world just a little bit bigger, a little bit more personalized, and a little bit more interconnected. Without a doubt, it's challenging but rewarding work to bring technology into the hands of young learners. But with leaders like Barb forging our path forward, if there's one thing we're certain of, it's that the future is bright. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Bright, Stories of Hope and Innovation in Michigan Classrooms. This podcast is produced by Herbie Gaylord, is hosted by me, Nikki Herda, and is shaped by many of our passionate and talented colleagues. Big thanks to Krista Green, Ann Perez, Ann Kraft, and Brandon Batista for their contributions to this episode. The Bright podcast is made possible by Michigan Virtual, a nonprofit organization that's leading and collaborating to build learning environments for tomorrow. Education is changing faster than ever. Discover new models and resources to move learning forward at your school at michiganvirtual.org.